Cool. It is live.
All right, let's do this. Dear and gracious Heavenly Father, which art in heaven, we're grateful that Thou hast allowed us to meet this evening to go over this case study, and we're grateful that we have this opportunity to go to Thy school and for the spirit that we're able to feel while we attend this school. And we're grateful for all the things that we have been able to learn. We ask this time that Thou might be able to bless us with Thy Holy Spirit, that we might be able to understand this case and gain greater insight into it as we are able to discuss with each other, and that we might be able to retain the knowledge that we learn. We say these things humbly. Name Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Cool. Let me get this back up. All right. All right, so I was just reading in Mosiah, just in my personal study earlier this week. I thought verse 5 was kind of interesting. It says, I say unto you, my sons, were it not for these things which have been kept and preserved by the hand of God, that we might read and understand of his mysteries and have commandments always before our eyes, that even our fathers would have dwindled in unbelief, that we would have been like unto our brethren the Lamanites, who know nothing concerning these things, or even do not believe them when they are taught them, because of the traditions of their fathers, which are not correct. But I think the first part of it was what stood out to me the most. It says these things that have been kept and preserved, that we might read and understand of his mysteries. And so I think it stood out to me the most because a lot of times, like when I'm kind of busy with a lot of schoolwork, working full-time, going to school full-time, it's easy to put off my scripture study till after I finish my other things. But the part that says that we may read and understand of his mysteries kind of stood out to me, that as I put these things first and make time for these, then I'll find the time to do my homework and I will have those mysteries revealed unto me. And I think that it'll just be a little bit easier to get my homework done and get my work done. Just after I prioritize and put those first, rather than having those come second when I have time and finish my homework. So that's something I've tried to do this week, is trying to read my scriptures and study before I do my homework. And I have noticed that I feel like I get things done a little bit quicker and that it is a little bit easier to understand. So that's kind of what I took from my readings this week.
All right, thanks for sharing that. That was a good scripture to share. I feel like the more life progresses on, I'm going through the similar things that you're going through, working full time and going to school and having a family, and feels like there's a whole lot more mysteries out there, questions I don't have answers to, and it's definitely assuring to know that I can find those in the scriptures, and that I have been able to find answers to a lot of my questions through the scriptures. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. Okay, so our first question is, vote as a group, should Doug accept the turn offer, yes or no? What did you vote?
I voted yes. I think personally I might have been more inclined to stay with the company, but I felt like after reading the case, it sounded a little bit more to me like he wanted to sell the company. The part that he said that he's not a big gambler, that he'd rather take his money off of the table, that really stood out to me, and that kind of swayed me to saying just sell the company. But what about you?
I voted no, and my main reasons for voting no was that he doesn't have a lot to lose, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
After he sells the cash and everything like that, I did the calculations, and he gets $1.35 million in cash after he gives money to the investors, and that's even before taxes.
Yeah.
and then he gets 1.5 million in preferred stock after he gives 25% to the angel investors. So it's not really that big it's not as big an amount as it sounds at first. I mean, it's still a significant amount of money. But another aspect too is, like I said, he's not gambling a lot. He didn't put a lot into it. It's a company, so if it falls apart, none of his personal belongings get taken. None of that. He still has an engineering degree and everything like that. He can still continue on his career. I definitely think that he is more of a technical person, more of a technician, more than he is interested in the entrepreneurial side of it or the administrative side of it. And so I think what makes staying with the company a better idea and not selling is that Shields gets to be the CEO. Even though he loses a whole lot of control, that shouldn't really be a big deal to him anyways, because again, he's not into the administrative side of things. Or into the expansion of the company. He really doesn't care about that. He just wants to do his engineering work and have an impact on the industry. And so if he keeps it, he gets to stay with that, and there's a chance for his money to grow. So, I mean, even then, he's still getting paid every year, 120 grand salary. So that's the reason why I picked for him to stay.
Yeah, I think those are all super solid points. Like I said, I think me personally, I would definitely, especially for those reasons that you just pointed out, I would stick with the company. He does have a lot of incentives to stay. Like you said, I hadn't really thought about the fact that he doesn't have much to lose, where he didn't put really anything into the company. It was all from investors. Where he started out with nothing. That's the worst case scenario, is he'd go back to having that nothing again. I think you had a lot of good points. Like I said, the only thing that I could really use to support mine was just that it sounded like he wasn't much of a gambling man, and where he doesn't know a whole bunch about the business side. It seemed like he just kind of he got his work done, he did what he wanted to, and now let people who are good with that get on and progress in that aspect of it. But if they did bring on that other guy as the CEO, I think they would have a lot of really good business insight. And he might regret selling if he did that a little bit later. So,
all right. So, number 4 says, start your discussion with those who say Doug should accept the turn offer. If no one votes for that option, come up with the reasons why he should take the other offer, even if nobody thinks it's a good idea. So we kind of talked about some of that already. I think there was a third option in this, and that was for him to not hire Shields as a CEO and just keep running the business on his own. But
yeah,
that was, in my opinion, I think that probably would have been the worst option because he wasn't interested in any of that aspect. But here's what I kind of wrote, and we pretty much talked about all of that. Some other aspects that I thought of it too was that with Shields, because Shields actually wrote Cosman a letter trying to convince him not to go with that option. And to me, that was a good sign, because another good sign is that he really did want that position. That showed some initiative, that showed some desire to really be a part of that. He wasn't just halfway committed to it. And I would, if I was Cosman, I'd use that as leverage. I'd say, hey, let's go 55-45 rather than 50-50, or otherwise I'm going to sell the company. So that's all I could really think of. Let's look at this. All right, number 5. Next, allow those who think he should take the offer to voice their opinions. Again, support your arguments with evidence and analysts. I think we looked at that. 6, how much money will Doug receive? as a group realized that it's likely that nobody had a fully correct answer to this question. Here's some hints. Okay, so are they asking if how much money he will receive from selling, or if he stays?
I think for selling, and you touched on that, so like where he doesn't get 25% of it, and he's got to give the investors all that cash back. So what you had said, I think that kind of covers that.
Okay, so
And
yeah.
like you said, that's not factoring in taxes. That's going to be a huge capital gains tax.
I guess it really depends on how if he decides to reinvest it, or if he just stuffs it all in his bank account, and there's a whole lot of things that are associated with it. Is whatever is left over. The way I calculated it was, so they get twice their investment plus interest, and I just did double the interest. That's what I assumed, and that's how I got to $648,000 that the angel investors would be paid.
Gotcha.
And then $2 million worth of preferred stock. 25% of that would be $500,000. So that's how I got to that amount. So his total that I received, it's an approximation, just because you might not be able to take exactly 25% of 2 million. It depends on the number of shares, unless he sold it. Was $2.852 million. That's what I got to. Do you see any other aspects that might need to be added into that?
Not that I could think of, unless we wanted to calculate with the tax rate. But I can't think of any other expenses. The only other thing I could think of would be is if he did stay and didn't sell, and we were doing calculations, would be he's now giving up 50% of the company, or like you mentioned, maybe a counter offer of 45%. So say it does sell for the full 300 million, he's only part owner of that. Plus he's got all this extra funding that has been received now. So I'd just be interested to see kind of what they expect the company to be valued at and what time frame. And then we got all variables, and just kind of see annually what he would be making, and then compare that to if he did sell right now and then reinvested that, and we say he got an average return of, I don't know, say invest in the stock market, and we just go off of the stock market's average for the last year or so, and just kind of compare apples to apples what it would be annually. But
yeah, it's interesting because they have the two exhibits that kind of look at that.
Yeah.
But, so in Exhibit 5, it had multiple revenue multiplied by. So the lowest one was 11 times its acquisition value was 11 times its approximate revenue. And then the one that's more accurate, more closely, because this business would really be a performance ad server.
Yeah.
So something closer to that was 23.3 times its approximate revenue. So, I mean, assuming that it goes for something similar to that, he could make a significant amount of cash. But I mean, I guess that all depends on a number of things too, though. Revenue is not everything.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of disappointed that they had in the Exhibit 4, the pre-money valuation was to be decided, and the share price was to be decided. So it's kind of hard to really determine what he'd be giving, what his potential of even getting at the first Series A round is kind of difficult to decide.
Yeah.
But I guess the assumption is that he'd make a fair amount of money
Yeah, definitely would make a lot more. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. So number 7, discuss as a group how much does Shields deserve. Um, I, I think that Shields is almost the perfect CEO. Um,
Yeah,
he wrote his PhD on his dissertation on the problem that Kosman is trying to solve. He has all kind. I'm sure that as a venture capitalist in a tech industry, he has all sorts of contacts. He probably knows the insides and outs of the business. Um, it's something that he has a desire and a drive for. So I think that he definitely deserves it. Um, yeah, that's my opinion. What do you think?
yeah, no, I agree. I think, like you said, he has a lot of contacts being a VC, um, and with that being a VC, he makes really good money, and he probably was going to take a little bit of a salary cut coming to be the CEO, is what I would assume. He had
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, kind of briefly touched on that. And so if he's willing to take that salary cut, I think that shows some big dedication that he really believes in the cause, and that he's willing to put everything into it because he knows that the potential rewards are there. And we had briefly mentioned too, like him writing that letter saying like, please don't accept the offer. That shows that he really does care about the company and that he wants to help that grow and progress. And so I think that he definitely deserves a good chunk of that. I don't know if I was in that situation and had kind of come up with everything. I don't know if I'd be super stoked to give away 50% of my company, but does he
Yeah,
deserve it? I think so.
yeah, I think he does too. Um, so the next question is, why does Washing want Doug to reject the turn offer? Um, I think one of the reasons that Washing, or a number of reasons why Washing wants him to reject the turn offer, is that first and foremost, he's invested into the company. Now, he'll make more than a double of his return very easily, which I don't know about you, but if I invested $200,000 in, I mean, if I invested $100,000 into a business and got theoretically $250,000 back, or even $300,000 back in less than a year, I'd be super excited about that.
I
But
agree.
but it seems like Washing thinks that he could probably get even more. He could get even more out of this, and so he has a lot of faith in Cosman's idea. I also think that he's more than financially invested in it. I believe that he's done a lot of work outside of just investing. He's helped Cosman get in contact with a lot of people. He's set up a lot of things outside, and so I think he wants to get more than that out of this deal. I think, to me, that's why I think Washington wants Doug to reject the turn offer.
I agree. I think what you said was like right on. Um, yeah, double your investment. That's a great return. But he sees the full potential, and I'm sure he sees companies come and go a lot of times being an angel investor. And so when he really finds a good company, he would be more inclined to sticking around and helping that company grow, because it might not be every day where they're going to find a company that they can make like double, triple, like way more than where they're at currently with just this doubling of the investment. Um, so I think that yeah, it'd be safe for him, but being an angel investor, he's pretty good at risk. He knows what he's doing, and this is like it's a pretty well thought out risk. It's not something that he's going in blind. Like you said, he's invested more than just monetarily. He's put in the time and got people in contact. He's found the CEO pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely wants the company to succeed, and he knows that it can succeed. And so I think it kind of takes the wind out of his sails, knowing that all this hard work that he's put in as well has kind of gone to waste in a sense.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of answers the next two questions too. Won't Washing get a pretty good return on his investment? So we kind of guessed what he'd get his return on. Why hold out for more? We talked about that. How much does Washington give up if Doug gives Shields 50% of the equity? I don't think he loses anything.
Yeah, he still gets double his return no matter what, right?
Yes. So he still gets 8% on his return. He also still has the option of a 25% discount. And then I think he was planning on putting money into the Series A funding, so it doesn't change anything for him.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8. Can Doug
like you had mentioned?
You there?
What was that? Sorry, you cut out.
Yeah, you cut out too. It cut off in the middle of your sentence. Can you hear me? Boy, I hope it doesn't cut out here. Can you hear me? Hey, get on the chat if you can hear me. Dang, that's going well. Oh, well. Hello? Good. Okay. It's still live. I guess it's still recording everything. Okay. If you're able to get your internet back up, it's you just go to the link that you sent me and it'll let you back in. At least that's what it's saying.
Okay, cool.
Good deal. Okay.
Sweet. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I tried to start a new one and just like a part 2 type deal, but it wouldn't let me start anything. I don't know what's going on.
No worries. All right, I think we're on number 8.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think yes, Doug can use the offer to his advantage. Like you said, when he goes to the CEO now, he can say, "Hey, like I have an option to take $2 million. Like I'd like to keep you on, but I need a little bit more than 50%." I think that he could really use that as some leverage to get that CEO. I keep forgetting what his name is. To maybe go a little bit lower, so he can keep more control of his company.
Yeah. There was a second thing that I just remembered too, and Shields was talking about seeing if they could get Cosman more money. So I don't know if it'd be like a payout from the company itself or how that would work. I don't know, but yeah, I think there's that advantage. Yeah, that's all I can really think of. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Not that I can think of. I was looking for that part that you just mentioned. Says I wanted to move ahead with hiring Tom Shields and completing the Series A financing. After Doug received the call from Philip, we did start to think about how I might be able to get Doug some cash as part of the financing. So I think that's pretty good. Getting a little bit of guaranteed money. I think that's his biggest worry is having this $2 million offer, and then say the company doesn't go great and he sells in a few years for less than the 2 million plus the 2 million in stock. So I think that would like calm his wife's nerves. I know he'd mentioned that if he could have some immediate financing and then stick it out.
Yeah. All right. Now it's asking us to read the B case as a group.
Okay.
All right. You want to just take turns reading it out loud, paragraph wise?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, I'll start us off. Yieldex B is December 2007, and Yieldex CEO Tom Shields was driving to the company's Boulder, Colorado office to meet with his co-founder, Doug Cosman. Since becoming the CEO of Yieldex in October 2007, Shields commuted from the Bay Area to meet with Cosman and the engineering team on a weekly basis. Cosman almost sold Yieldex for $4 million in September 2007, but after an agonizing internal debate, he decided to forego the quick exit and hire Shields to help him pursue additional financing and grow the fledgling company. Shields and Cosman had been negotiating an equity split when the unexpected offer came in, and they were close to an agreement in which Shields hoped to receive 50% of the pre-Series A common shares. Shields had pressed Cosman to turn down the offer, but that came with a price to Shields. He ultimately agreed to 40% of the common. So we were we bid up a little lower than we should have. He ended up taking 40%, while Cosman held on to the remaining 60%. Cosman then sold 20% of his common back to the company to take out some cash. Oh, maybe that's what they were talking about taking out cash. Both Shields and Cosman were diluted in the Series A round that closed several days after Shields joined the company. Sequel Venture Partners led the round with a $2 million investment, and they're joined by first round capital $500,000 and angel investors that converted their seed notes into Series A shares and reinvested additional money. Okay, I'm going to put that down in an Excel spreadsheet real quick so we have those numbers.
Cool.
Sequel 2 million. And we have first round. Okay, good deal.
And so is that basically just the Exhibit 4 from the original case?
No, I think it's changed a little bit. I think they ended up getting less money in their series round than they expected. No, actually they got more, 4.9 million. So the angel investors,
That's right.
they
had more.
Yeah, the angel investors upped their amount to 156 apiece. So I think that was the amount that they said it was that they could add additionally. We'll look at it. I think it has an exhibit, so we can look at that part later.
Cool. Awesome. Ready for that next paragraph then?
Yeah.
All right. When Shields joined as CEO, Kosman became the company's chief technology officer, reporting to Shields. Kosman explained, "I was not interested in leading a team of engineers on a day-to-day basis, but I wanted to be the technical leader of the company." Kosman had converted the 3 contractors to full-time employment and hired 2 more in the last few months. And both he and Shields thought they needed to be led by an experienced vice president of engineering. Shields met with several candidates for the VPE position during November, and he quickly realized that he and Kosman had different perspectives on the qualifications of the ideal candidate. Kosman preferred someone with deep technical expertise in internet advertising software who would immediately understand how this technology related to the systems already in use in the industry. In fact, he hoped to promote one of the Yieldex employees who had been working with Kosman on the Yieldex solution over the last year and had previously been a team lead. Shields, however, preferred a deep management experience of software development projects in small companies. He was comfortable hiring someone who had not worked in internet advertising, as long as the individual had a track record of managing high productivity startup teams to achieve aggressive development milestones.
Okay. Shields knew that the issue would come to a head this week. He had recently met a Boulder-based candidate, John Barr, who came highly recommended from sequel partner Tom Washing. Barr had a strong track record with multiple successful startups. He had been the CTO at his last 2 companies, but he was willing to join Yieldex as the VPE, also reporting to Shields. Shields believed Barr was a good fit, and he was ready to hire him, but Kosman was troubled by Barr's unfamiliarity with several of the key components of the Yieldex solution. He wondered how Barr could manage a software platform that he didn't fully understand. Kosman was also concerned that Barr seemed to be questioning the skills and output of some of the employees that he had hired. As Shields pulled up to the Yieldex offices, he thought about the implications of hiring Barr against Kosman's wishes. He was comforted by Washing's support of Barr, as he knew that Kosman respected Washing's perspective. Nevertheless, he wondered how Kosman and Barr would interact as the 2 leaders of the Boulder office, and also how it would work when the 5 engineers that Kosman had hired began to report to Barr. Shields knew that this group would have to work closely together in Boulder while he jump-started the sales and marketing efforts of the company out of the Bay Area. Kosman had architected the Yieldex software, and Barr would need his support to manage the team effectively. Shields respected Kosman's desire to keep looking at other candidates, but he needed to fill his position so he could refocus his own efforts and he's impressed with Barr's credentials. All right. Oh, exhibit 1 is on its side. That's nice. You know if there's any way to flip these pages around?
Not that I know of, not in this page.
That's nice. Okay, let's see if I can copy him. I'm going to try and copy and paste them somewhere. Yeah, that didn't work.
Okay, I got it.
You got it moved over?
Yeah, let me just screenshot it and then I'll put it in the copy menu so you can see it.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, will it not show it?
No. Is there any way that you can do a screen share?
Yeah, I'll just screen share. Let's do that. Cool. That work?
Yeah, that's good. All right. Wait a minute. I thought that Cosman sold 20% of. Did he sell 20% of his shares or 10%?
It said 20%.
So it doesn't really make sense that he has
50%.
Yeah, it should be even less since they have to have an employee option pool.
Yeah, and where did the other 6% of Shield's common stock go?
I think part of that went to the employee option pool, and I guess they forgot to calculate that Kosman lost 20% of his and took 10% from him and put it in there. Okay.
Because I would have just assumed that they would have made the 20% that Kosman sold as the option pool. So it would have been 40, 40, 20, but I guess not.
Okay. Anyways, all right. So, that share price is pretty low. So I'm guessing the angel investors didn't get a lot with a 25% discount rate. Okay, they got.
So down the you can see the pre-money valuation of the 4.9 million and the Series A investment of 3.385, which I think is the same as that.
You're right, it is.
Yeah, Exhibit 4. I thought it gave us different numbers though. Interesting.
All right. So post Series A valuation is $8.4 million. So he would, assuming that he owns 50% of the common shares, which we don't think that he does, but if he does, then that would be 50% of 4.9 million. Would
could
that be
even just
right?
do the. We could ask it has the.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up.
If you do how many shares he has times the share price, you're looking at about 2 million.
Okay, yep, that's right.
So off of that, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not.
Finding your
Okay. So he's made a fair chunk of change, and they really haven't even sold anything.
Yeah.
Looking at that, he would still have made less than if he had taken the Turn Incorporated buyout, because the Turn Incorporated was 2.8 million, and this one he has about 2.4.
It keeps breaking up. Sorry. You want to say that again?
So if he had taken the Turn Incorporated money, he would have gotten about 2.8 million. And right now his amount is worth 2.4 million. You there?
Yeah, sorry, it cut out.
Cut out again?
I heard up until right now, and then I didn't hear what you said, what your calculation was.
Oh, okay. So if he had taken Turn Incorporated's offer, he would have earned $2.8 million approximately. But if he had taken, but right now he's worth 2.4 million.
Actually, okay. So as of right now, he would have been better off taking the offer, but that was never the end goal. He was planning on sticking around.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we haven't accounted for his income either. And we haven't accounted for the fact that they haven't even earned any revenue. The company really hasn't even gotten anywhere yet. So,
And he did take 20% of the shares in cash.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the question that's asking here is, should Tom hire Barr? Yes or no? I'm thinking yes, he should. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a tough decision. I think he has what's needed. He has those qualifications. The only problem I foresee is the butting heads of Barr and Kosman and the team. If you're going to be in a management role, you definitely need to have respect going both ways, from management down to the employees and employees to management. And I just hate to see Barr come in and have all these great qualifications, but then they just don't mesh well personally, and then a lot of things could break down. I don't know. That's all. Like, sorry.
Yeah, no, continue. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, so that's all hypothetical too. Like maybe they hire Barr and they get along. It's probably a risk worth taking because it is something they need to fill. And let everybody get back to their original roles, and I think the company will really begin to progress. So I say yes. Just some things to think about.
Yeah, I think yes too. Part of the issue is that Kosman can't hire Shields to be the CEO and then try and undercut his decisions, if that makes sense. And
Good point.
part of Kosman's problem is that he's not really interested in management. He's only interested in the technical aspect, and that's the whole reason that he hired Shields. So you can't just hire a bunch of engineers and then them not being involved with any management and expect to have the company function. I don't think that Barr needs to have an exact understanding of what's going on with the product for him to be able to manage what's happening. I mean, you have all kinds of managers that don't know jack about what their employees do, technically speaking.
Yeah.
But they're able to be great managers because they're able to take the skills that are necessary and move people around to doing they're able to get performance based numbers out of them. So realistically, they can look at the technical aspect all they want to, but they do have to focus on what their customer actually wants. They can build an awesome product all day, but it's not awesome unless it meets the needs of their specific customer base.
Yeah. I think Kosman's kind of wanting to find plays in a manager that don't necessarily have to be there, like you said. A manager doesn't necessarily have to know everything that's going on. He's there to manage the people and help them be productive. And so if they know what they're doing, the manager just has to be able to be effective at helping them be the best at what they're doing. So I work at a bank, right? And we just recently hired a branch manager. She didn't have any banking experience before, but she went to one of our other branches and she hopped right in, and the branch is doing really well. And she didn't know anything about banking before, but she can learn that. But she does really well at motivating and managing her team so that we can be really effective. So I agree totally.
Yeah, and also on top of that, if he's a good manager, he'll have high emotional intelligence and he'll be able to work with Kosman. That's part of him being a manager. So I think it would be a good decision for them to hire him.
I agree.
Okay, so
we kind of went to discuss number 10 with that.
Yeah, so it talks about company culture. I think we kind of discussed part of that. Leadership team, we discussed part of that. Investor relationships. Hiring him would help with at least one aspect of investor relationships because Wright thought it was a good idea. And that's also another positive aspect of it is that Wright will be able to be kind of a mediator and help Kosman accept the decision. I don't see how it would impact any of the other investors, to be honest.
Yeah, the only way I can see it impacting them is just by Barr coming on and doing a really good job, and that just increases their investment even more. So I think from an investment perspective, if you have somebody who's really good at their job, you're going to want them in that position. So I think from an investor's perspective, they would like to have Barr come in. But yeah, not really anything else I can think of.
All right. So now we have the C case.
Mine's just downloading.
Yeah, mine's doing something. Is it coming up in PowerPoint for you?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
All right. Has it come up?
Yeah, do you want me to read it? It's super short. 6 months email from John Barr, VP, to Tom Shields. Tom, Doug continues. Okay. I'll see which I should have wasn't functional in the board meeting today. Right thing for the company. Woof. Interesting. Cosman just gets screwed, dude.
Well, it kind of seemed like it was going to come to that in the last case. Doug continues to be disruptive. Salary is $170K. Holds the title CTO, which I should have. His team wasn't functional and has been replaced. Board meeting today, do the right things for the company. Yeah.
I kind of agree in a sense.
Yeah.
I get this and that freaking sucks, but from a purely business standpoint, like, you need to do what's right for the company and for the company to progress. And maybe Cosman never had it in him. He just cared too much about and know much of the business side. Yeah, he had an idea, but maybe it is time for him to sell that then and let people with it.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's so much an issue of emotional problems, because there's more at stake than Doug's pride, if that makes sense. So this is more coming from this perspective of Shields. It's who's actually the problem? Is it Doug, or is it this new guy that he hired, Barr? He's the one that has to figure that out. And if the problem's Doug, which I think that it very well could be, because it doesn't seem like Doug is much of a leader.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be a leader. So it doesn't really make even any sense for him to be CTO to begin with.
He's almost kind of counterproductive to that leadership as well. Like you said, like, he kind of undermines Shields. They find this great candidate in Barr, and he doesn't think so. So not only is he not really benefiting the leadership, he's almost being counterproductive for them to really lead the company.
So this sounds like a really mean decision, but yeah, they should get rid of Doug, the guy that started the company.
Yeah. I guess that touches on 11. What does do the right thing for the company mean? Should Tom fire Doug?
Does Yieldex need Cosman anymore? What value does Doug bring to the company now that they have his algorithm? How could Doug have avoided getting into this situation? You want to change your minds about the buyout now. So I think that he should fire him. They don't need him anymore. They already have his patent. They already have his algorithm. That's all they really need. I mean, it's going to be kind of tough to start out with a bunch of new engineers, but if they can still do it. How could Doug have avoided getting into this situation? He just needs to be less prideful and just follow what management is asking him to do.
Yep.
He could have easily have stayed under those circumstances. I'm not changing my mind about the buyout. What about you?
I think I am. I'm going to say
Sorry,
just for the reasons
you're cutting out again.
Can you?
It's still really choppy. I still can't hear you.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
No. Is that cool if I just type it?
I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. I think
Now it's getting choppy again. Just type it. See how that works.
he should do just from a purely business. Like you said, they don't need him. Once they have his algorithm, he's not really of any use anymore. Can you hear any of this?
Yeah, it's still choppy.
Does it make it any better? Turn that off.
No, it's still really choppy.
I'm going to type it.
Okay. Oh, dang. We're so close to being done. Hello? All right. So it's still live right now, and this is really our last question. I could put you on speakerphone so that way it'll record all of it. All right, hold on a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
So I was just saying that I think he should do the buyout, take the original deal. Like we had mentioned, once they have his algorithm, he's not really of any use to the company anymore. I feel like he's definitely more of the technical mind, and he doesn't really have a whole bunch of management experience behind him, and he's not really contributing in that sense. So I feel like his contribution is pretty well done. And so I feel like the best scenario for him is to take the $2 million and to get out $2 million cash, $2 million in stock, and then let the company progress as it will. I think he's more hindering the progress of the company right now. So I just feel like it'd be better for him and the company if he just took the original deal and let people with more experience kind of take over and that's his idea.
Yeah. For me, I think that he could still earn a lot of money, even if he didn't take the buyout and he did get fired. But it would have really been better for him to just have taken a regular engineering position rather than the position of CTO.
Yeah.
And and stuck with the company that way. I think he would have been happiest in that position. But I think any of the decisions that he makes, he's in a good position. I think really he's kind of, the fact that he's come up with this algorithm has really set him up in a really good spot either way. So
I agree.
anyways, so I think that's our last question. We should be good to go. Do you need to get back on to make sure it finished recording and everything?
That's what I'm trying to do. I think I need to get on and stop the recording.
Okay. I'll stay on the call I'll stay on the call just in case it needs someone to stay in the call for it to continue recording or whatever it is that it needs to do.
I might be coming in.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and get that stopped then, and then as soon as that loads, I'll send you the link so you can turn it in as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, we'll just want to plan on next Wednesday again?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Sounds good. Have a nice night.
Okay, you too. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.